Hello everybody and welcome to my spoiler-free review for Spider-Man Homecoming. This is directed by John Watts and it stars Tom Holland, Michael Keaton, and Robert Downey Jr. So this is the third implementation of Spider-Man. This is the first time that Sony is combining forces with Marvel and Disney to bring Spider-Man his own feature film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this takes place first thing after Civil War. So we have Peter Parker, played by Tom Holland, who is going back to school after a weekend retreat with the Avengers at that airport scene. So he is a kid that is very high on that adventure that he just went on. He wants to get on another mission with Tony Stark and his crew, so he's constantly pestering Tony Stark. Tony Stark gives him his Spider-Man suit, so you see that Peter Parker is trying to do his best to really prove himself. He is going out on the streets trying to do his best at fighting crime, and at the same time, you know, this is kind of a John Hughes story, so we see that Peter Parker is going through school. He's 15 years old in Queens, and he is just doing his best to be as a little as awkward as he can to get through things in life. And well, while fighting crime on the streets, he actually runs into this mischievous plot with these arms dealers that have alien weapons, and this is where Michael Keaton's The Vulture villain comes into play. So moving into my positives, first off, I want to talk about Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. This is very refreshing from the, first off, like the Tobey Maguire version, which is very emo. So you have Tom Holland, who portrays a very energetic, a very naive, but a very charismatic and very fun type of character. And wow, can Tom Holland pull off some really good stunts. This kid is a great acrobatic, great gymnast with it being able to just really portray the abilities of Spider-Man. Another thing I want to talk about is how this movie didn't fall into the usual tropes of going over the origin story. We've already been through this twice now with this particular character, and it was nice that we kind of just steered away from that. But there was a bit of an origin take on Tom Holland's Peter Parker getting used to the new suit that Iron Man gave him. So there is a bit of a learning curve, but it's kind of refreshing again to not see the origin story played out. Another thing that sets this movie wide and far from the rest of the Marvel films is this is its own tone. It's got, like I said, that John Hughes, Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of story vibe where he's going through school, he's dealing with the same thing that everybody else is dealing with, but at the same time, he's trying to figure out what his place in this world is as Spider-Man. Another thing I want to talk about is Michael Keaton's performance as the Vulture. I think this is one of the most refreshing takes on a villain in the MCU in a long time. We have a villain that is more grounded in reality. He's not trying to take over the world. He's trying to make money to support his family, and after he was kind of downtrodden on, he kind of looks for a way to make money that is not probably the most honorable way to make money, because he's an arms dealer. But when he gets mixed in there with Spider-Man, who tries to thwart his arms dealing, well, things get a little messy, and that's where we see the colors really come out of the character. And finally, the humor in this movie was on point. I really enjoyed it. Of course, it was a great score put on by Michael Giacchino. Some great tracks kind of weaved throughout this film. As much as I like this film, there are just a couple things I want to talk about that were a bit of a negative for me. So first off, I think that the movie could have been cut a little bit shorter with well over 2 hours of film time. Somewhere around the second act, I did notice myself kind of drifting off at points, but that's not to say that this movie does have a pretty decent pace to it. Another thing that wasn't directly tied to the film itself, but more on the marketing side of things, was the trailers did ruin a couple big reveals for me. That's not saying it was end-all be-all. There were plenty of twists and turns in this film I didn't see coming, but I would have liked to be completely spoiler-free, and it's a shame that the trailers had to spoil me. With that being said, I'm going to score Spider-Man Homecoming an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is the best Spider-Man film we've had yet. Tom Holland is a star. Look out for this guy. This is the blockbuster of the summer so far, guys, so make sure you go out and check this thing out. And I want to know what you guys thought of Spider-Man Homecoming, so let's talk about it in that comment section below. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. I have other MCU content, but I also talk about Star Wars, video games, TV, and movies. Thank you for watching. I'm Star Raptor, and bye-bye. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Star Raptor head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.